One. I'm your host, Blain Pudvey, and I'm joined now by my co-hosts, Matt Smith
Good evening.
and Trege Wilson. Best dressed man on the show. Look at that.
Great
Look at
shirt.
that. If
Not as
anyone's
good
looking
as
for one of those
not as good
Habs
as your
Unfiltered
shirt.
t-shirts,
It's not as good as your shirt a
yeah,
couple weeks ago, but still pretty
no.
good. Still a pretty good shirt.
But if anyone's looking for one of those Habs Unfiltered t-shirts, go to Streamlabs/Habs Unfiltered and purchase one yourselves. Super cheap. All profits go to Vets Canada.
Very comfortable shirts.
Yes, they are. I'm wearing one myself. All right. So this episode, we are going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens at the World Championships. We'll talk a little bit about the Canadiens' needs in the draft and a little bit of talk about the Florida draft pick, which fortunately and unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, fell to 29. So we'll just start with the Worlds. So Team Canada has Montembeault and Barron on the squad. The Americans have Farrell, Hudson, and Luke Tuck on the squad. So there's five Habs players in those two teams. We're going to talk about them for the most part. Matt, we'll start with you. What's your take on their performance thus far?
The Americans had a big win in their opener against Finland. However, the Canadiens players they're not playing the top end role as of yet. I did see a couple good plays from Hudson, a couple good plays from Farrell, etc. It's going to take a little bit to get them going. On the Canadian side, however, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Montembeault. He saw the puck really well. Couple high danger chances. He stopped, picked up the shutout. And then Barron, again, he's not one of the guys that's going to have to play a top line role on that team. I just want to see these guys play well and bring that into the regular season. Unfortunately, like for Armia, for instance, last year, I was thinking all kinds of good things about him. He had a very, very good tournament. He came into the Canadiens season and just laid an egg. And so far, he's doing the exact same thing with Finland. Um, Player of the game yesterday, and then today scored a goal. I just hope that this time he's one of those guys that can keep it going.
Dreg?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to see how really Farrell and Hudson are doing, and Barron, the young guys. I mean, Armia always tends to play well in these tournaments. Just to think that maybe just to make us Habs fans think he got his mojo back, only to be disappointed. But I'm just looking forward to see how Lane Hudson and Sean Farrell do. And Hudson had 15 minutes, and Farrell I think played 12 against Germany. I thought Montembeault had a great game. And Barron again, I think he was. I don't even. I'll have to look up what his stats were, but he didn't get any points or anything. But
about 10 minutes, 11 minutes.
Yeah, he was a fourth or
third pair.
Third pairing, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Monty so far. It's only been one game, it was Latvia, but it's still like Matt said, he had a lot of high danger chances that he stopped, and really, if you look back at the NHL, I believe it was 14th overall in goals above expected there in the league. So I think that's telling you a little bit something if you're analytical minded that. Montenegro's not the AHL goalie that Matt and I thought he was going to be. So let's be honest, we trashed him all last year, and he's really turned his game around, and he looks like he got some confidence. And whether he's going to be Montreal's number one goal of the future is still, I don't know, but he's going to be good enough to maybe move Allen, maybe if they really want to.
Yeah, I mean, as a tandem so far, I don't see any reason to move anybody. Primo hasn't really, lit the world on fire. So those two together, I think, are a solid tandem to go with next year.
Sure. There's no rush. There's no rush to do anything right now. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, yes, Carey Price was his goaltending coach for 3 or 4 days prior to going on the tournament, and I mean, Montembeau's style did change a few things technically in his game, and it showed, and he did well. But again, Latvia, not an NHL team. Although, don't get me wrong, Latvia's got some pretty good players, but it's still not, it's not the Colorado Avalanche. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he did look good. He puts in a good tournament in this year. Who knows? Because this replaces the playoffs for these guys. What impressed me the most, so for the fun part, the most impressive, Lane Hutson, that shootout goal that he got to win it, unbelievable. That move he made. And he is so agile, mobile. His edge work is impeccable. His pace changes and speed changes to control the play, to create space. That's how he has to play defense, because he's so small. But he still added, according to Adam Nicholas yesterday in an interview with NHL.com, he has put on about 15 to 20 pounds, and he is about 5'10". I'd say more like 5'9", but
just a monster.
Apparently he's getting bigger.
So he's 5'9", 140 now.
Yeah,
it's okay. We'll soak his gear before he goes on the ice.
Yeah, that's probably what he did.
Yeah.
Drank a lot of water before the weigh-in.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not going to be that dominant defender like Shea Weber. He's more of a Quinn Hughes type of defenseman.
Hopefully,
he's going to have to
defense.
I was just going to say,
comparable. Yeah, let's put an asterisk.
Well, I mean, the type of skating, his skating ability, his offensive ability, but Hudson's going to have to use his hockey IQ, his brain, to be able to play defense. He's going to have to give forwards an opening and then take it away suddenly, make them think, okay, I've got this opening, and then he can close it off with his stick, with his positioning. He's going to have to learn that. So there's a little bit ways to go, but so far he looks great. The one part that I'm a little bit disappointed by, that's Luke Tuck. I mean, he was fairly invisible. I mean, you watch the game, you'd be hard pressed to hear his name more than once or twice.
For a defenseman, that's not bad, but for a forward, that's not what you want to hear. For a defenseman, if you don't hear his name, you're okay with that. But
yeah, and it's just one game, but he really needs a good tournament to set himself up for a contract. Whether it be the Canadiens, whether it be someone else, he needs a good tournament this year. This tournament.
You're referring to the first game?
Good season.
You're referring to the first game?
The first game.
He didn't play in the first game. He was scratched.
Exactly.
Yeah. His brother
that's
played.
My point.
Yeah, his brother played, but he didn't play. Yeah.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
He needs to play. He needs a good tournament.
I think that he'll get in, but he's not going to he was an easy scratch against a hard team. Right?
Yeah.
He'll go in there against some of the other teams and get some experience and everything like that. Play a fourth line role to start. But yeah, I kind of have no issue with him being scratched against Finland, right?
No, but the pre-tournament games, he didn't really do anything either. Like, he didn't set himself up for success, which is why he was such an easy scratch.
Right.
And unless he has a good tournament, he's going to have a hard time getting a contract, especially with a team like Montreal, who have to make decisions on about 50 freaking prospects in the next year or two.
Yeah.
I think Luke Tuck's on the outside looking in. I don't think
he's been passed by a lot of guys. I know when we picked him, it was like, oh, look at this guy. If he's going to be anything like his brother,
I don't think he is, though.
Awesome, but well, it seemed like he was, but just with more snarl. But that's
more of a
totally
third liner.
But that's one away.
Yeah.
Right. Every team needs that kind of player that can put the puck in the net when not all the time, but when needed, and provide a little bit of offense but kind of be that tough guy. But I don't see it. Unless has a big season, I don't think he's going to come back.
Yeah, he did have injury problems in the last couple of seasons, and he missed a lot of games. So that could be a reason why his development hasn't progressed the way we thought it would. And his high end was always as a third line power forward energy type player. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I do expect him to have a decent year this year with Boston because they've got a pretty stacked team, and he is he's going to be one of their bigger players, one of their best checkers. So he's going to have a significant role there in that role.
Yeah, he's going to have an A on his jersey as well, as will Hudson.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be a deep team, that Boston team. Jesus, that's
the two Boston teams, BU and BC.
BU and BC are going to be.
It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yep. Oh yeah. All right. So from there, we'll move on to the draft and the Canadiens' needs. Trege, what is one need you see from the Canadiens at the draft table?
At the draft table? Well, if they could get whoever they're going to pick at 5 and Reinbacher on their later pick, that would be a super win-win-win-win-win situation for the Habs.
Sure, but I'm thinking more like a style fit, like an actual like systemic need.
Blain, why you put me in these positions?
Because
besides a top line right-handed defenseman, they pretty much have a little bit of everything coming forward in their prospect pool, except for elite talent, which again we're hoping to get at 5. But at 29 and up, in this draft, it's possible you could sneak out maybe a goaltender would be nice, but I don't know if you want to waste a pick on a goaltender then, especially when you're picking, I think, in the
37.
top 37 next. So, I'd stick with the back end, stick with either a goalie or a right-handed defenseman that has some upswing to them. Because if you look at their talent pool, I mean, we were just talking about Lane Hudson, Jackeye, Gooley, Harris, Struble, they're all left-handed defensemen. Really, on the other side, all you really have is Logan Mailloux and Justin Barron. So you need, not saying that he's going to come in next year, but you need someone that you can have in that pipeline that's going to, and I don't see Logan Mailloux as a number 1 defenseman or a top line defenseman. I see him as a second line defense, like a second pairing defenseman. And I don't see Justin Barron as a top pairing defenseman either. So if you can get someone that's can fit in that top pair, like at that point in the draft, and this draft is deep, then I think in my opinion, I think Habs won their draft. Like they can pretty much do whatever they want after that for the rest of their picks.
Matt, what about you?
We're talking about that first pick at 5th overall. They cannot leave Nashville without elite talent. This is not the time to pick to make the safe pick and to take a defensive forward or take one of those kind of players. You're leaving with someone that's putting points on the table, and if that happens to be Michkov, if it happens to be Will Smith, etc., you got to make that pick. You cannot pass on players like this to make the quote unquote safe pick. In terms of a need possibly for that pick that's going to be either 29 to 32, if they don't trade it, which we might obviously get into as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that after.
You can look at taking the best player available, obviously. I'm looking at a few different players. One being Cohen Zimmer, Prince George Cougars. Plays a power style, put the puck in the net, like really put the puck in the net. He put up 89 points this year, 41 goals. Said plays that power game, has a hell of a shot, can run a power play, etc. Another guy that really impressed me during the U18s was the Swedish captain, Otto Stenberg. Hell of a tournament, put up 16 points in the 7 games, the 7 goals. Kind of like a jack of all trades type player, play center of the wing. If we want to look at defense, you got Lucas Dragovic, another offensive minded defenseman, right-handed shot, put up big numbers for Tri-City this year. I think he put up 75 points, something like that. Again, another guy that played at the U18s. And if you want to go for a goaltender, you go for the best that's available. And as of right now, it's a toss-up between Bjornsson and Harabel. But I'm going to go with Harabel just based on the size and how he played at the U18s. He gave that team a chance to win every game. And
But
yeah,
I think Harabel could be around at that 37th pick. As a matter of fact,
he could be.
I'm looking at a simulator right now that has Harabel at that 30. Everyone you mentioned is in around Zimmer. Actually, I don't know if he went on the Tankathon, but on my Tankathon, they got Zimmer for Montreal at 29,
Right.
Harabel for Montreal at 37. So
Right.
I like Harabel myself for if they're going to pick a goalie. I don't mind the American either.
Trey Augustine.
But
I think that he would be more of a
he'd be more of a later round pick.
He'd be maybe I think he'll go maybe in the 3rd round or a little bit higher. There's one other guy that I'm looking at, and it's going to be a later pick. I do not remember his name off the top of my head. I just remember he was the backup goaltender on the U18 team, and I looked up his numbers, and holy hell, he put up some really good numbers, and he's not ranked that high. So he's one of those guys that maybe you take a chance at him at in a late round with a late round pick. Like if I can find him on here, or if I can pronounce his name, that'd be grand.
Yeah, while you're looking for him,
it's Hampton Slucknusty.
What the?
Yeah,
that is a name, all right.
Yeah,
Slutnutsky.
Yeah, Slucknysky. That
sounds like
Slucknysky. Hampton, SLUKNYSKY.
He has
sounds like a name from
Shorzy. He has to play with the Ed Mysak.
He is but you look at his numbers, he is going to he put up some massive numbers this year. Massive.
Who did he play with?
He played in the US. He played in high school, actually.
Oh.
But he was 28. He was 28-1-1 with a 941 save percentage. And then but I mean, he's already committed to Northern Michigan. He was the backup at the U18s, put up a shutout.
Matt with the hot take. Slutnutsky is going to take Montreal to the Stanley Cup.
Slutnutsky.
Slutnutsky. But you know what? His last 5 games, he had a 968 save percentage. The guy's got unreal numbers. You get him for a 7th round pick. He's my home run.
Well, you got to keep in mind too, in this draft, there's Adam Gajan, and Thomas Suchanek. So you can probably get one of those two with a later round pick as well.
And then you've got Thomas Milik as well. He's going to be going back in.
Yep.
And then you've got
probably
Bowen, the fellow for the London Knights.
Yeah, I don't want to. No.
But he'll be available as well.
Nah. His dad's a Leafs commentator. You don't want him.
Slutnutsky is the guy. You know what? I wish Bob Cole was still announcing. Can you imagine this? Slutnutsky with the save. Oh, baby.
I want to know how to actually pronounce this guy's name. But
Slutnutsky is down.
Habs have to hire Ron Tugnut as the goaltending coach.
Yeah. Well, I said, look him up. He has got some big numbers. That's some big numbers.
You guys are just the best jewels there are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
man. He really should be hanging low for that pick.
I hear. Yeah. Well, what is he like? Does he hang left or right? Like, is he lefty or righty?
Slutnutsky. What? I want to meet his mom.
What a name. His mom's name's probably like Smith or something.
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope it's not Slutnutsky. Miss Slutnutsky.
All right. So we've gone off the rails, and let's bring it back onto the rails here.
Oh, Matt, I love you, man.
So
You're welcome. You're welcome. Look him up. Look him up. He's got big numbers.
Oh yeah, no, we will.
Oh, I bet
Now,
he's big.
Yeah. So I did a quick mock draft with using FC Hockey. They go to their website. You can do a mock draft there. I used their rankings, and I came up with Smith at 5. But again, that everything depends on Columbus, and we talked to Mark Scheig in the last episode, and San Jose. Now, he wasn't too sure which way they would go, if it would be Carlson or Smith. So Carlson's looking like he's going to be stepping up pretty big. Everything rests on San Jose, and there's a good chance that San Jose picks Michkov because they can wait the 2 to 3 years, because they're Greer's going to need time to sort out that rat's nest of a salary cap issues that he has.
I was seeing a podcast there for San Jose, and it seems like everyone in San Jose likes Michkov. The talk around San Jose is them drafting Michkov 4th overall.
So if that is the case, that means Smith will probably be the guy at 5.
If Mark is pretty sure they're going to go with Carlson, then yeah, Smith. Either way, Carlson or Smith at 5, you don't say no to either one of those guys.
God, no.
I personally don't say no to Michkov, but and just so people know out there, I don't know how many people we listen, but anyone not named Bedard is probably not playing in the NHL next year.
Fantilli should.
Maybe. Yeah. Right.
Fantilli should.
But anyone Montreal picks at 5, whether it's Michkov, Carlson,
and
Smith,
all those
Benson,
guys are
those, anyone like they're not coming
they're
to
two,
the NHL.
They're 2 or 3 years anyway.
They're almost the same amount of time as what's going to take to get Mitch. The only difference is you are in control a little bit of their development than you would be with Michkov over in Russia.
Yeah,
that's it.
So that's the big question mark. Is Michkov really a guy? It could be, because San Jose's got all that cap issues that they have to take care of, and Greer, he can be a patient man with that. He has to deal with the Carlson issue first to somehow get rid of that that salary office salary cap. Now, so the Canadiens, let's say, get Smith. Just argument's sake, Carlson went earlier. San Jose picks Michkov. Habs get Smith. So on this, I got Smith. And with the 29th pick, I went by their rankings, and Matthew Wood was ranked 29th with FC Hockey. Now, if the Canadiens somehow hold on to the pick and draft Matthew Wood, who we all saw in the U18s, he was over a point per game. He looked really good. He was the youngest guy in the
I can't see him falling.
No, but that's the thing, right? But if he did fall that far, great.
Oh yeah, it's must pick. He's a must pick. If he fell that far, he's a must pick.
Yeah, and at that pick, if he's not there, now I got Tom Willander, the defenseman.
Yeah, and he looked good again at the U18s.
Yeah, I got him at 69. Nice pick there. But at 29, if he's sitting there and you hold the pick, why not him? I mean, I almost guaranteed that Reinbacher and Sandeep Pellikka are gone.
Right.
Now, Willander is probably the 3rd best defenseman, 4th best defenseman. Anyway, he's right up there with those two, especially for right-handers.
Yep.
I ended up getting Gayen at 101st. Daniil Bu, the Russian from Loko Yaroslavl, got him at 37. Now, our friend Grant McCagg absolutely adores this guy, a 6'5" center. He has him in his top 5.
Yeah.
So I know what some people think of Grant. Some people absolutely hate him and they think he's an idiot, but he's been right a lot more than he's been wrong.
The thing people got to realize is Grant listens to scouts that are scouting these players, and he bases his draft picks, and Grant can correct me if he wants, but he doesn't just base them on what he's seen or what he doesn't see. He also bases them on what the scouts are telling him. You know what I mean? So, he was right about KK. He was right about Slafkovsky. But there's a reason he's right about these guys. It's because he knows a lot of people in the scouting business. And
Yeah.
he asks them all, what do you think of this guy? What's the difference between this guy and this guy? What, blah, blah, blah. And then he takes compiles what everyone says and what he also sees himself. And Grant just doesn't look at highlights. He watches games and breaks down everything. He just doesn't look at the highlights and go, oh, look at Mitchkov with that lacrosse style goal that he scored, or this and that. He looks at, all right, look at Mitchkov over in that corner and that board battle. You know what I mean? Wow, he lost that pretty easily. That's the 5th time I've seen him lose a board battle like that. You know what I mean? Then he goes, all right, that's something that's concerning, right? Or he'll look at Shane Wright. Shane Wright, and the way he looked at it was Shane Wright gave up a lot. Shane Wright was a bit lazy. And I think that's what he based Slafkovsky, and because he had a point. Every team Slafkovsky's played for, he moved up the lineup. And once he got to the top of that lineup, especially with Slovakia, he turned that team around or helped turn that team around. Whereas Wright was always the top center. And if they lost, it's because Wright didn't put 100% into the game. And if they won, it's because Wright put 100% into the game.
Just look at Windsor this past year. They got swept in the first round by Kitchener, who were probably the worst playoff team in the CHL. Like they barely a playoff team, but they did it. They swept them. Phil Meshar dominated in that matchup. So,
and I'm not trying to say anything about Wright. I'm not saying Wright was the wrong shot. I mean, I had my issues with Grant on the Wright Slafkovsky situation myself because I was heavy on Wright. But my point of view was Montreal needs the center, right? Then the whole Doc trade happened, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I know why they didn't pick the center."
And then they got Beck in the second round,
and then they got Beck in the second round, yeah.
And Beck was seen as a right light in that draft. Like he was seen as almost as good as Wright, plays a similar style as Wright, won't be as productive as Wright, but there he is, and you got him second round. So
for 2 years in a row, he led the CHL in faceoffs.
Yep. Yeah. So the Canadiens, that 2022 draft, if Slafkovsky reaches close to what they wanted him to or what they project him to, and you got Meshar, who should become something like the Slafkovsky, Meshar, Beck, and Hudson so far look like 4 excellent picks. If they all hit, that draft is going to probably be looked back on as the draft, like the 84 draft for the Canadiens, where they got Ottawa and Lemieux and Richer. That draft class that turned the Canadiens' fortunes around.
Could we see
4 or 5 years?
Could we maybe see the Canadiens, if they have with their late round pick being anywhere between 29 and 32, then you're getting pick 37. Could we see them, if they don't trade the picks for a piece? Do you think that maybe they could put those together and move up?
I would say they'll try to move up. I don't know if they're going to put those 2 picks together. They might use a 2024 second round pick. They've got Colorado's. I could see them trying that. I'm not the GM, but if I were, I would not be trying to trade up using that second round pick. That's your pick up a guy who's sliding pick.
Right.
You mean the first one, the 37 pick?
Yeah. 37 pick.
But say if they pick Smith, okay? Say if they pick Smith and one of his teammates starts to slide a little bit, whether it be a Ryan Leonard, a Gabe Perreault, an Oliver Moore, that kind of guy, starts to slide a little bit, and you have that opportunity. Might be something that you look into, or even a Matthew Wood or something like that, right? A guy that's we'll see.
You can see, honestly, with that, if a Leonard is the guy that's sliding, I know for a fact that the Canadiens absolutely adore Leonard. I've spoken to some scouts myself. They all rave about this kid. So I doubt he'll slide. But if he were to slide, let's say to like 10 or 11, I absolutely see the Canadiens spending a big buttload of fucking futures to try and get that kid. Because you got Smith and Leonard, who honestly, he was the straw that stirred the drink in that U18s for the Americans. They get those two. That's a grand slam for a draft.
Yeah. If Michkov, like, I'm just gonna say this: if they pass on Michkov, if they get to that point, that's their pick. Leonard will be their pick at 5. If
the two centers are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If Smith and Carlson are gone.
Yeah. If Smith and Carlson are gone and they
Yeah.
decide they're not players for Michkov, Leonard would be their pick.
I 100% agree.
And then they take Sliknowski fucking into the first round just because of his name.
The thing though is you got to think too. Montreal has a lot of assets where they can move up in this draft. I mean, they have 47 left-handed defensemen that can play in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but Harris, Jackeye, anyone not named Gooley and Hudson are probably not staying in Montreal long term.
Yeah.
Right? Because you only play 3 defensemen.
Right. For me, go ahead. Sorry.
And of those defensemen, all of them, I mean, I would say Gooley, Hudson, and Jackeye are probably the most safe because Jackeye can play a solid third pairing role, and you're not really losing out on, you're not suppressing any talent by only giving them 15 minutes a game. Right. But like Harris and Struble and Kovacevic, I guess, doesn't really count, but and guys like that, Norlinder, I guess he's still in the conversation. He's still in the minors. All these guys, you got to move them. You got to move something. And Harris is a question mark too. Like, do you want to like, is Harris the guy you want to move, or maybe it's Jackeye? I'm I'm biased to Jackeye, so I'll never say Jackeye is going to get moved. But
Jackeye's not getting moved.
I just think he
brings a little bit more.
He brings something different to the table than everybody else. That's why.
Now, I agree because Jackeye brings a little bit of intimidation. So does Gooley. Matheson has shown that, at 28, he's a young veteran.
I forgot about Matheson too. They got him for the next 6 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. Edmondson is probably the one they're going to move for sure. Harris is a maybe. But I'm looking at, you look at the draft order, and you've got Washington at 8, and they need defensemen galore. And they're a team that everybody knows they're going to want to keep competing, or at least put a team together that could support Ovechkin in his quest for best goal scorer in history. That's the team that is ripe for a trade. You offer them some NHL ready, some NHL roster pieces. You could probably put together a package that's strong enough to take number 8 without giving up number 5.
But in that, you're going to have to give up a prospect or something.
Yes, you'll have to give up a roster player, one of your better prospects.
Maybe that 29th pick.
Yeah. But and that absolutely could be worth it when you're looking at the list of names that are sitting there. So Benson, Moore, Leonard, Danielson, Dvorsky,
maybe Michkov,
Reinbacher. Michkov might still be there. Yeah, that's just it. Like, I think they would be worth to even overpay to give them NHL now players plus some futures. Because if you're really going to give away the number 29 for something, put in a package like that. Because I know everyone's going to say trade it for Dubois. Sure, you're going to have a little bit more to it, but this might be more impactful in the long term.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I don't think Hughes' heart is set on Dubois. I think if it was, he'd have him by now, to be honest with you.
I think he wants him, but I think he knows he can get him without having to give up a ton. And Cheveldayoff absolutely has to get a ton.
So here's the thing: is you have 2 GMs that don't make a move unless they get exactly what they want. This is the problem with Cheveldayoff and Hughes. Hughes doesn't make a deal unless he gets exactly what he wants or pretty much close to what he wanted. Cheveldayoff doesn't make a move. Like, he barely makes any move. unless it's
I think
exactly what he wants.
I think the players are going to force his hand, though.
Wow.
I think Winnipeg's players are going to force his hand and say, you know, with how the season ended and with how kind of the coach looks at the leadership group, and you got to remember when the new management group came in, like they like Wheeler lost the C, etc. Right, like everything. The room there, for what I've heard, is not the best. So change is coming. Change is coming in Winnipeg, and I think that Shovel Dale is going to be forced to make a move, and one of these guys, whether it be Wheeler or Scheifele, mainly, are going to be gone.
I say Hughes goes after Kyle Connor. Screw it. We don't want Dubois. We want Connor.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I can see those guys. I can see those guys being well on their way out, and then Jonathan Taves goes from Chicago to the Winnipeg Jets. Going home. You heard it here first.
you know what? That does make sense. It does. And you know who else would be great at center?
Especially if Dubois leaves.
Yeah. And you know who'd be great at center there with Taves is Dvorak.
Yeah.
You always bring Dvorak. How did I know you're going to bring Dvorak into this conversation?
Why not? I mean, he brings Slutnusky.
What's gonna happen is Canadiens, in the 5th, 6th round, I'll say even 6th, 7th round, I'll be sitting there with a drink in my hand, just half in the bag in Nashville, probably sun fucked from the night before, and we'll be sitting there.
The sun at night.
I don't know. It's Nashville, and there was a bachelorette party, so who knows? So, anyways,
were you reading books while wearing a dress?
I was doing that too. I have a balcony at my hotel, so so anyway, I'm sitting there, and Canadiens just made the monumental pick of picking fucking Hampton Slutnusky, and then it's like, wait a minute, we have a trade, and then Dvorak moves to Winnipeg
for a 7th.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, Philadelphia. You got to keep tradition. Philadelphia got to get that 7th.
Yeah,
that's true. No, that is true. Although they didn't do it last year, but
no, because Bergevin's gone.
That's right.
I think we have to make it our mission. We have to make it our mission to meet this kid if he's there.
No.
Yeah.
Bergevin's going to be the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
Actually, I that's possible. It's possible he will be the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's actually going around, that rumor.
Or Kyle Dubas.
Yeah.
And Ryan Hextall will be the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Now, that 29th pick, unless they do trade for someone that can play on the roster right now, or they use it to trade up to like 8, like I mentioned, which I know it's a bit of a pipe dream, but it seems like it's possible. I don't think it'll happen, but it's possible.
I think Washington's a good pick though, Blaine, because it's possible because Washington's going to want to make the playoffs sooner than later, like next year.
True.
So who knows?
So you can probably put something together. The Canadiens have a ton of prospects, picks, the whole thing. And young defensemen who can play in the NHL right now, which is all things that they need. But if you're not gonna do either of those, keep that pick, because you're looking at guys like Samuel Honzek, Daniel Boot, Oliver Bonk, the right-hand defenseman with London. That he'd be a good pick there. Charlie Stramel.
Is that Radek's son?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to pick him. It's like Radek Bonk played for the Habs.
And the Senators, it'd be a giant troll job.
Yeah, but Senators don't count.
For me, I'm looking at a couple teams that have multiple first-round picks. Arizona's got 12, which they picked up in the deal for Chetron from Ottawa. And they've already got pick 6, so they have 6 and 12. The St. Louis Blues have pick number 10. They also have 2 picks at the end of the draft.
29 and 30, I think.
Yeah,
right now.
depending on where things fall for them. And then you've got Detroit as well. Detroit's got 9 and 18.
18. Yeah. Well, with St. Louis, that's a team that's like Washington, want to compete for the playoffs immediately.
Right.
They're making moves.
As does Nashville. Sorry.
Exactly. But Nashville's going to hold on to that first round pick that they have. They're not going to move
Right.
that. They're home ranked. They're going to
Yeah.
make the pick. But with St. Louis, they've got those back-to-back picks in the final 4 of the first round. One of those is going to get traded for a player.
Right.
I can almost guarantee it.
I'd have to look and see what the stipulations are on those picks.
Well, let's take a peek.
What if the Habs
Uh,
pick Quentin Musty and then Sletnutsky?
Ooh,
Then
that-
you have Musty Sletnutsky. Sorry, I had to do that.
Sounds like something that you see a commercial for, and it's like,
Do you have a
oh,
Musty Sletnutsky?
yeah.
put my Mishak at center for that line. My sack is Musty Sletnutsky.
Buy our wood Barlow, and that'll take care of your Musty Sletnutsky.
Oh God.
Oh
my
are,
God, this show's going downhill in a
yeah,
friggin'
we
hurry.
are mature.
Sorry. I'm not sorry. That's funny as shit.
All right. So to bring this back to, like something resembling adults talking.
This is what happens when you do
Not true.
2 podcasts 2 days in a row.
Yeah. Let's end this off with some hot takes.
Woo!
We were talking before the show. We were just shooting the breeze, and I thought, this would be a great time to have hot takes, a hot take moment. So, Matt, why don't we start with your hot take? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be Habs related. Just a hot take. If you don't have one, I know Treg does.
Try to go first. I'll think of one.
Austin Matthews gets traded by the Leafs before July 1st.
I love it. And what happens July 1st for him?
He has a no move clause
Well,
that kicks in
is that
for
the
his
last
final year of his contract.
Mhm.
So
Who-
it only
who
makes
gets
sense. What? That's
Who
a
would
good
get
question.
him?
I don't know who gets them, but I think it'll be a contending team for sure.
Washington.
Could be Washington.
They do have
Or
that 8 pick.
here's the magical talk that I always threw it. He could go to Chicago, who's not it. But can you imagine Bedard and Matthews for Chicago? Think about it. Think about it.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense. They don't have to worry about the playoffs.
No. And he doesn't
So
play in
he'll
the
look
playoffs
great.
anyway. He's a point per game player in the playoffs, man.
Yeah. All of them scored in like games 1 and 2.
But no, that's my hot take. And if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if Toronto doesn't get rid of him before the end of his contract, they're probably going to lose him for nothing.
That's true. That is true.
Because I don't think he's going back to Toronto.
No, I know that I say this jokingly a lot, is that Arizona, but I do think Arizona's going to be players in him as a free agent.
And they'll have the money for him.
They have the space. They have the new rink.
They can throw anything they want. Well, did they win that? Did that come out yet?
Not yet, but according to sources in Arizona, they will be. Patrick Brown, our friend Patrick Brown, formerly of the Hockey Raiders, now of the Arizona Coyotes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Give him a follow, guys. Patrick Brown, if you want any news on the Arizona Coyotes, and there is some, he's the guy to follow.
So what happens if that new arena gets the same amount of people as the arena they're using now gets to 2,500 or whatever the hell it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt it. But the location that they say they're going to put it in, it makes a lot more sense for that.
And if they bring someone in like Matthews or someone with a big name, it'll
Instant
draw a crowd.
star credibility.
All right, Matt, what's your hot take? Let's go. Sletnutsky at 5.
Okay. Yeah. That's not a hot take. That's happening. They'll move up to get him. I'll yell it from the 200s. For me, hot take. It's in the news that Joel Quenneville might be returning to the NHL if he's given the okay by the league. It's looking like it's going to happen. So I say Joel Quenneville joins the New York Rangers as the new coach.
He's not allowed to bring his own video coach, though.
That's right.
Oh,
But I say he joins the New York Rangers. They're already a team that's got some veterans. They got some good youth coming up, and I think that that's the guy that's going there.
That's not really a hot take, Matt. I'm just throwing that out there.
It's hot take. It's happening.
Well, here's mine, and it's going to go directly against Matt's.
They're not taking Slugnaski?
No, not that. That's obvious. It's for sure happening. No, this is going to be Patrick Roy's last year in the QMJHL. He's going to the NHL.
Taking over
the Rangers.
Taking over Alex Burrows' job.
No, to the Rangers as the head coach. His former teammate, Chris Drury, is the GM there. Old buddies, won a Stanley Cup together. Leroy's ready to move on. His Quebec Rempart are currently up 1-0 in the series. They're playing a second game on the weekend. It should be decided here later Sunday. So who knows what'll happen? But that's definitely something I'm going to ask him when I see them in Halifax for Game 3.
Patrick Roy, coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, I mean, Ken Dryden was a president there for a bit, so it makes sense.
Just saying.
Yeah. You know who'd be a great coach there? Felix Potvin.
And Rod Hextall is the GM? There's going to be a fight breaking out somewhere. Potvin beat the snot out of Hextall.
Okay.
So good.
How about this? Here's my hot take. I'll throw in a real hot one. If you didn't like my hot take and you kind of shit on my hot take. If you didn't like my hot take, here's a hot take. Toronto cleans house when in their front office, and the Hunter brothers leave London and run the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's possible. That's actually I can see that happening. Maybe not this year, but
there you go.
I think the Hunters are going to flip them the bird because of what they did the last time when they went with Dubas. They kind of snubbed them.
Yeah,
when they went with Dubas.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they still got hard feelings. But yeah, that'd be.
Right.
I like that. I like that hot take.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. The Hunters have now become the hunted.
Yeah.
Boo.
Listen, just because you have a musky Sletnutsky doesn't mean you can shit all over my.
That costs extra.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much it for tonight's show. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you for listening.
No final thoughts.
If you're still
this
is it, man. This is it.
I have a good final thought.
No,
give him his final thought. I won't have one.
You guys have burned this with the Slepnusky and the hot takes from hell. But okay. All right, fine. What do you got?
Go online and check up Hampton Slugnaski.
I want a t-shirt. Hey, Andrew Zaranowski. I want a t-shirt. Slepnutsky to the Habs. Habs future #1 goalie, Slepnutsky.
Yeah.
We make our own t-shirts too, right? We can just make one.
Yeah, okay. I want a t-shirt. Habs Unfiltered, sponsored Sletnutsky. 5th overall.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right. So if anyone is still listening to us at this point,
you're a Putsky if you don't take Sletnutsky.
See what I mean? Now, if you're still here now, you're probably the only one. Matt and Trege aren't even listening anymore. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you for sending in your emails with suggestions. Hey, honestly, if anyone wants to put some comments on the YouTube channel, send some messages our way there. We're on TikTok, send messages there. Like we want to interact with you guys as much as we can, especially during the off season here with all this stuff going on. Trege and I, we're going to be, going to the draft. Matt will be there too. We're going to probably be at the NHL Awards. I'm going to be at the QMJHL Finals. So we're going to have.
Wait, we're going to the awards?
Access. Yeah, I am.
When is that?
It's the Monday. Oh. We'll talk more offline. So just send us more comments and as much as you want. Anything, any ideas, any comments, as long as, they're within bounds. And as you know, our bounds are pretty wide. But I want to thank you guys all for listening and for interacting with